Mna bendiphangela. Ngoba ndiphangela nje imilenze yaqaqamba, iyadumba. Ndafika kugqirha. Ndatsheka itsho. Kwabonakala uba ndine-diabetic. After diabetic, kodwa ndinentliziyo.
Injalo ndiyakhathazwa ngamadolo lawo. Ngoku ndinazo neeswekile, zange ndibe nayo loo nto. Ndinezo nto ngokuyiswekile nento ne-high blood yayingekho loo nto kudala.
We've got two types of diabetes, type 1 and type 2. Type 1 are those that are very thin. Type 2 are those who are obese. Others, they are born like that, like they inherit from their parents. Others, I can say perhaps maybe they are not aware of the type of food that they are eating.
Dala ngoku usitya ba uyatya uzakuyazi unandoni uyatya qha. Ngoku ke ngoku uyaxelela ba yihlaka into obukathi uzitya.
Ngoku yabe ndiphangela ehotele, besitya kakhulu. Ipudi ntontoni yabo. Into ezifed yonke into, yabo. Ndatshintsha ke ngoku. Ngonje ke ndilapha elokishini. Ndayeka ke ngokuphangela lapha elokishini. Apha elokishini asinakutya. Utya loo nto uyifumanayo. Ugqirha uyakuxelela uba itya ntoni, akwazi.
Ikhaphetshu kaloku elibilisiweyo elinamanzi ungafrayi nespinatshi galela mhlawumbi ke imilimili okanye irayisi wenza isigwamba nomngqusho bathi usistarch akufunekanga usitye. Itapile nalo akufunekanga ulitye sistarch. Batsho ke akufunekanga ulitye itapile uyalitya akufuneka ungalityi qho.
But in Grahamstown, you must go to shops. Into sisigrosela mostly meal. And thina as abantu abamnyama sikholwa uba nemili funeka ibe khona apha endlini. It's bad if you eat it every day, especially ba uyitya yona yodwa umqa wodwa, because ke kwamanye amakhaya ufumanisa uba umuntu ukhipha imili kusasa aphinde because ke phela kwento banayo batya imili kusasa as ipapa emva kwedinner bayijiya la mili bayenza umqa late bayenza umphokoqo. Ufumanisa bana ngoku abananto yoyitya wese then ke ngoku ingabi healthy. Akukwazi athi susela idrink ebilileyo ijuice andinayo ijuice ndasela umdoko yabazi umdoko ndisela umdoko andinayo ijuice yabo. Abantu abakwazi into obana mabafikelele ekutyeni ukutya okuright because abantu abaphangeli, so mostly abantu batya istarch because ba at least unemali yange-200, the only thing ucinga into yoba makuthenge rice iminimili umngqusho iswekile. This i-basics ke ezo sokubana at least xa zikhona ezo nto endlini ukutya kukhona.
I think what's causing it is that there is changes in people, how they get food, because in the past you used to have people growing their own food, meaning that it had a component of physical activity, plus at the same time being able to produce sufficient food of enough variety so that people have a varied diet. The change is now that people now are more dependent on having an income, having to work to get food, and having a limited income to buy a variety of foods. So that has a significant impact. And that's why in our communities you're starting to see quite a lot of diseases which relate to lifestyle issues and diet issues.
Siyilwa impilo into ba sibe healthy iyaqonda. So wasixelela umthatha into ba masitye ngolo hlobo. Sifundile ke ngento ekuthiwa yi-balance meal le nto sigqiboyenza into ba makubekho zonke ii-nutrients ukutya okutyayo kusasa ngokuhlwa nasemva kwemini ne. Masike sichazeni umuntu abe honest before besingekafundi besisitya njani.
Bendipheka ne olohlobo lipheka ngalo. But apha ekuphekeni bensenza sure uba xa ndiphaka ndifuna uphaka Mount of Everest. Nditye kakhulu. Ngoku apha ekhosini ndivile into yoba hayi mani ndingaphaki kakhulu uba nditye ukutya okudala uba maye ndisitya ndizilamba zonke zoba rayithi. Hayi bendisitya kakhulu kona. And isitashi bendisitya. Ndivile into yobana ngoku awufuneka ndidibanisa isitashi nesitashi. Starch plus starch is equals to problem. So ngoku funeka ndingapheki kakhulu isitashi. Uba ndipheka irayisi ngapha umnumzana atapile mangabikho mninzi kakhulu. Ndifunde loo nto apha ekhosini.
Before training, ne? Sasa besitya ipapa kaMilimili. Emini nditye i-stiff papa kaMilimili aqomba si-starches. Ndiphinde late nditye umngqusho crush. Isesi-starches. Ngoku apha emveni kwetraining ndifundile ke into yobana manditshintshatshintshe kwiininzi zam. Uba kusasa nditye ipapa kaMilimili, emini manditshintshe nditye iveg. Then late nditye enye into yabo engeso-starch.
Kumaxesha akudala ne abantu bakudala bebe-healthy than thina ne. Uyayibona indlela bebesitya ngayo. Okakutya eza traditional meals zabo zazi-nutritious because batya iveg efresh evela egadini. Uyayibona emhlabeni.
Chipuka Broadway kene eyona nto ichiphu kakhulu apha ka Broadway i-Bluett ichiphu ilandika i-27.99. Then ke ngoku i-White Star nayo ayikho expensive but it's normal price. White Star is nice for everybody, like White Star kaloku because kaloku White Star is a very nice meal, and when you cook there in your pot, oh, I don't know what can I say. That one is nice nyani.
Ngabile endlini kuthi hayi kuthi endlini yabeli ukuthi uthengwe 12.5 kg meal, but ayinqabanga kwelicala lethu. Every day thina sithenga 12.5 nentoni meal nemingqusho nentoni thina maqaba. So it is a tradition.
Because we are cooking mpokoko in Xhosa, we do umka. You know umka? Taste pap. That's why people like too much white eating meal.
It's not purely traditional, it's also agricultural. The reason why they eat more meal is because that's what grows.
If you Google traditional African foods, you're going to get maize. It's become the kind of traditional African food.
Make the clever choice. White Star! Super maize builds your body, hearty and healthy, fluffy and white, and it's always right.
Move to the taste, move to the energy.
White Star! The clever choice.
Probably a lot of people don't even realize that it's not indigenous. Traditions are reinvented all the time. So I mean, you know, even if we take pre-colonial times, cultures weren't static. People were trading crops and trying new things, and so things moved before.
It's not about actually teaching, like saying anything. You learn from as the basics as it goes on at home. Yeah, but sasa sikinto ethile umntana uyayiqhela loo nto le emini umntana uyayiqhela. It doesn't have bana umtitshe siyakhe daily duty yakhe funeka yenzile into enjalo. Like uyabona mos i-basics yakhe ide. So ke at the time babona bamele izindlu zabo bazakwenza the very same because nabo bayazi uba ukhule ngolu hlobo ekokwini.
Needing all together, and it must be best to power worlds. Ha ha.
Maize has come to be seen as a local crop. The only thing is when it comes to the crunch, it's not, because it's not drought resistant enough. The biggest problem is going to be with climate change. That maize is going to die. There's certainly this century, but I mean, if you read the optimists, they're saying by 2050. If you read the pessimists, they're saying by 2030, we're just not going to have the water anymore to support the maize.
Food and Trees for Africa tries to encourage that knowledge. We've got a project funded by the Slow Food movement from Italy. One of their sort of ethos is that we produce local, we eat local, and we eat slowly, and we enjoy the food that we're eating, and we are conscious of how we're eating and where we're getting our food from. Our reliance on maize and other exotic vegetable species is worrying, especially in relation to climate change. As our country gets drier, as our planet gets warmer, these adaptable little plants and vegetables that we've used in the past need to be used and need to be remembered in the future.
The reason why local people wanted maize is because it kind of produces a more abundant crop than sorghum and millet, which is the traditional alternatives, which they should have stuck with. Maize is not drought resistant at all. Sorghum and millet, the two indigenous grain crops, are really highly drought resistant. So we shouldn't actually have maize here, because South Africa's not a rainfall rich country.
The indigenous leafy vegetables that were so often used in the past and were traditionally used in terms of soups and stews and for their nutritional value, if that knowledge is lost or not encouraged, or in the worst case scenario, a stigma is attached to using traditional plants and vegetables, which could happen and is seeping in. Often speaking to township people, I've spoken to one or two people and said to them, do you use imifino? And they sort of have snorted like, oh, I wouldn't use that. That's like the food you use if you absolutely have to use it. And it seemed to me at the time that there could be a stigma towards using vegetables of that nature because shop-bought vegetables are better.
It's part of the impact of colonialism. If you're kind of upwardly mobile, but you're going to eat maize and you're going to eat meat and you're going to eat kind of Western vegetables. The whole idea is that only poor people eat that shit. But you kind of don't eat bush food anymore because that's what poor people do. It's a mark of kind of success that you don't eat it anymore.
At the moment, children under 15, there's close on 3 million children that are malnourished, and that seems crazy for South Africa, which has a lovely climate and beautiful soils. So it's unnecessary for children or anybody to go hungry when there are foods around us.
You know what, especially at their homes, not most of them get the balanced diet. You can see, even if you are just doing a home visit there, you will see the parents, they usually give them snack. And if I can just say, it's a junk food. So here in the preschool, we are making sure that on a specific time, they just get especially the meals that are suitable for them. Kufuneke siqiniseke into yobana isisu sabo sigcwele kukutya okondlekileyo, ngoba kaloku umntana akakwazi again ukufunda isisu sakhe si-empty, akazukwazi ke ngoku ukuconcentrate even nakwilantikazi zakhe kwii-activities zakhe. Yiyo loo nto ke ngoku ndisithi ibaluleke kakhulu into yobana bakufumane oku kutya, ngoba kaloku kubenza into yobana mabakwazi ukucinga engqondweni, kubenza into yoba mabakwazi usebenzisa amalungu abo omzimba.
Etsho ngezonwelana zinekheli, yintombazana eqhelekileyo nje. Nankuya ke uBrenda.
If I can just make an example, at their lunchtime, we must make sure that we are having vegetables for them. Specifically on Thursday, we are having the full meal for them, whereby they just get salad, beetroot, cabbages, and also the meat. So I think it is a balanced meal for them. Okay, here in the garden we're having different vegetables. For instance, now I'm standing in front of the cabbages and also the spinach there. There's the onions. Otherwise, we're having this different vegetable garden. And as you can see, it's still growing.
The economy in China is growing very rapidly. So people's demand for food is growing rapidly. And that's going to put pressure on prices. I think if anything, agricultural prices, commodity prices are going to rise. Food prices are going to rise. And that is going to put pressure onto our poor.
Poverty is the main issue. Abantu abaphangeli, abantu abanamali, abantu abanazijobs, abantu abafikeleli kwezi zinye izinto. That's why into bana uqoma umuntu ngenye ixesha basically upheka lento ikhoyo endlini. If bana ukwi rice, uphela umisa rice yodwa because kukwi rice. Bakukho umngqusho akho zitapile nezinye izinto umisa umngqusho ubile pha wodwa kutye. That's why into bana umbuzo wakho uthi prevent abantu mababe ne healthy diet. Soze ukwazi uba ne healthy diet ungenamali. Utya loo nto ikhoyo.
Ibalulekile kangakanani le soup kitchen. Baninzi abantu abangaphangeliyo ngoba le soup kitchen iba phakathi evekini and abantu abayi-athendayo ngamanye amaxesha baba more than 100. So cacile baninzi abantu abangaphangeliyo.
Into endenza uba ndize apha e-soup kitchen ngamaxesha onke andibinayo into zokupheka ndiqonde mandize apha e-soup kitchen. Imali yomntana ndiyifumana kudala ndiqonde mandize apha e-soup kitchen. Mntu andiphilanga ndiyagula. Kudala ndiyifuna indodla andiyifumani. Nomyeni wam akaphangeli naye utya i-treatment. Nzima ezintweni uba imali ibe khona yonke into ibe khona. Babinoba ndikhona imali noko nam ndingaba nalo uncedakala baloku le mali ayikho and kunzima apha akho msebenzi.
Bayancedakala kakhulu ngoba abanye baye bathi noba ayisingela mini ye-soup kitchen like njengoba nje i-soup kitchen 3 days a week ufumaniseke omnye noba ngungolwesibini uzawungqubeka because of bangabana akananto nayo endlini.
Xa ingavulwanga i-soup kitchen sihambe siye kwiifemeli zethu sifike sicele ukutya sikufumane kanye amaxesha singakufumani bathi abanazinto nabo.
If a fairy godmother was here now and said, what would your one wish be? I would say reduce unemployment down to less than 10%. That would solve, kind of like social problems, economic problems, food security problems.
Umtati Training Project is an NGO which was started in 1994. Basically what you were trying to do, we're trying to change people's life, like to establish the backyard gardens. We train people the permaculture skills using the natural resources and we put it here. This is a shade house. It's where that we kept our seedlings in. Then when they are at this age, then we are taking them, we are selling them, and also we are taking them into our programs.
Umthathu usinceda kuba esilimela le gadi sitya kuyo sifumana iveg.
Afika apha kunjiya yabo. So ke ngoku safika ke Irina wasenzele ba igadi sikwazi ukutya. Yakona besithenga eveg etown. Yonke into etown. Ngoku siyakwazi ngoku ukutya. Siyakwazi uzilimela. Nomthathi uyasincedisa. Uba ngumthathi lo undenzele lento.
As you see the keyhole here, you see it's a raised bed which is the people who are using wheelchair, can be easy for them to work. And for those who've got sore knees or sore backs, it's easy for them to work.
Lento njengomuntu othenga ukwanti akwazi uhamba. So ndiyakwazi usebenza apha ndiguqe ngamadolo. Nditya isigwamba, yonke into apha ndiyayifumana, nempilo yam xa ndingena apha ndiziva ndi-right.
Our poor people in South Africa, in most towns, most townships, have space around their houses. That is different from many cities elsewhere. Now, they can grow vegetables in those areas. It is really an absolute puzzle as to why South Africans don't get off their lazy horses to do these things.
This garden belongs to my mother, but we're making use of it at our preschool now that we've provided the meals for the learners. The reason why my mother decided to start it, especially in this area, most of the people here, they don't have any gardens. So it's all about encouraging the people to have at their side their own garden.
You know, the hope would be that people would actually produce some of the stuff in their own back gardens, and that municipalities would really take that seriously. I mean, at the moment, municipalities are not taking that sort of thing seriously. They're not really looking after the poor people in a big way.
Our planet sustains us. It provides us with everything we could possibly need in terms of medicine, nutrition, filling our bellies when we need to feel full, water, shelter. And it is our responsibility as guardians of this planet to look after the land and to look after the plants and to use them the way that they're supposed to be used, and not to manipulate them, and not to be completely reliant on one or two grains or one or two crops, when each one has its place on this planet and in its cycle of diversity.